Elden Ring's Bestial Incantations are some of the most fun spells in the game. Their low stat requirements, physical damage type, and synergy with strength and faith makes them strong as hell and easy to use in a variety of builds. Today, I'm going to show you one that I made, which takes advantage of the boost given to them by the Clawmark Seal and the Cinquedea. Hi everyone, my name's Diabedor, and this is my Bestial Incants build guide. If you find this video helpful, please leave a like, share the video, and consider subscribing. It really helps me out. Also, I want to give a quick shout out to the Story of Us in a Bus, who graciously joined my channel as a member. Sorry for forgetting the shout out in my last video. Consider joining my channel as a member if you also want to see your name up here in the Hall of Insulin, among other cool perks. As usual, I make my builds at level 125 using the Wretch as my starting class. These are just my personal preferences, and you can make this build at any level you want using any class. Your final stats will just look a bit different. If you're making this build from scratch, the optimal class would be the Hero, which will net you additional stat points for Strength or Faith over the Wretch. First, let's look at the stats. The most important stat is always Vigor, so we've got that at 60, which is its final soft cap. You might be tempted to take points out of Vigor for a bit more strength or something, but none of that shit matters if you die because you don't have the health to back it up, so make sure you've got 60 Vigor. After that, we've got 17 Mind, just to have a bit of FP overhead for casting spells and using Ashes of War, and we've got 16 Endurance, which is the minimum required to medium roll with our equipped gear. For the damage stats, this is a Strength Faith build, so those are the stats we're focusing on. The only significant stat requirement we have is for Howl of Shabriri, which requires 38 Faith to cast, so I brought Faith up to 38 and then dumped every remaining point into Strength, which brought it up to 43. 43 happens to be the soft cap for hybrid scaling catalysts, such as the Clawmark Seal, so that worked out really nicely. If you use a class such as the Hero or go to a higher level, then the next stat you want to level up is Faith to 43 for optimal incant scaling with the Clawmark Seal. We're going to be using Millicent's Prosthesis, which gives +5 Dex, so we don't need to worry about putting any points in Dex. That's it for the stats, and up next are the weapons. This build is going to focus on using the Cinquedea and the Clawmark Seal, both of which provide a 10% damage buff to Bestial Incantations. They also both primarily scale with strength, meaning they synergize really well. If you want to use additional weapons in this build, then pretty much any strength or faith scaling weapon will work really well. The only problem is that you'll end up in heavy load, so you'll need to either increase your endurance, wear lighter armor, or equip the Greatjar's Arsenal Talisman to compensate for that, so keep that in mind. Now we move on to the Talismans. We've got both the Phlox and Faithful's Canvas Talismans to boost our incantations by 8% and 4% respectively. We've also got the Rotten Wing Sword Insignia and Millicent's Prosthesis for their multi-hit buffs, which synergize really well with the Cinquedea's fast attack speed. There are a couple alternative talisman options in the build planner inventory, which is linked down in the description, so check those out if you want to run the build a little bit differently. For armor, I decided to use Malekith's set. Not only does it complement the theme of the build, but it also looks cool as hell, and it's relatively lightweight, which helps save a couple points in endurance. You could also use something like Rakshasa's set if you want more damage, or the Knight set for more protection, or any armor you think looks cool. Again, just watch your equip load and compensate for that as needed. Now we come to the meat of the build, which are the spells. The Bestial Incantations are pretty diverse, so I chose to just equip all of them. Bestial Sling is a close-range shotgun blast, which is your bread and butter spell, good for blasting shit at close range, or keeping up the DPS when you have to dodge away from something. Beast Claw is a mid-range wave of damage, which is good for softening up groups of enemies ahead of you. Stone of Gurranq is a long-range rock throw, which is great for sniping or attacking bosses when they dodge away from you. You can also use it up close for decent hit stun and poise damage. Finally, Gurranq's Beast Claw and Roar of Rugalea are solid close-range AoE spells, great for kamikaze-ing groups of enemies if you run right into them, or as a fuck you get off me bro button in a pinch. In addition to these, we've also got a few buffs. Blessing of the Erdtree regenerates 12 health points per second for 90 seconds, making it great for exploration or giving you a bit of insurance during boss fights. Golden Vow increases all damage you do by 15% and reduces all damage you take by 10% for 80 seconds. And Howl of Shabriri increases all damage you do by 25% at the cost of increasing all damage you take by 30% for 40 seconds. With these two spells combined, you'll do a fuckload of damage while also not taking all that much more damage. However, if Howl's 30% negation penalty is too risky for you, you can use Flame Grant Me Strength for a 20% boost to physical and fire damage for 30 seconds instead, plus some stamina regen. There's also Boiled Crab, which boosts your physical damage negation by 20% for 60 seconds, letting you trade a damage boost for a lot of tankiness instead. Just keep in mind that Howl, FGMS, and Boiled Crab don't stack, so you can only use one of them at a time. Finally, in our Wondrous Physic, we've got the Opaline Hard tier, which increases all our negations by 15% for 3 minutes, and I decided to also go with the Winged Crystal tier, which basically gives you light rolls for 3 minutes. Light rolls really aren't all that amazing compared to medium rolls, but they're nice to have, and there aren't that many other crystal tiers which synergize with this build. Plus, I wanted to do something a bit different for once, and I figured since it's a bestial build, like beasts are always like running around all over the place, like your dog gets the zoomies and shit like that, so why not? Alternatively, the Green Burst Crystal tier boosts your stamina regen speed for 3 minutes, which is probably a better choice overall compared to the Winged tier. You may also consider swapping the Opaline Hard tier out for the Bloodsuck and Crack tier from the DLC, which increases all damage you do by 20% at the cost of draining your health by 23 points per second at 60 vigor for 3 minutes. It's a huge damage boost, but I personally don't care for that health drain, which is why I usually don't use it. That's it for this build. Make sure you use your buffs and try to keep up the pressure using a mix of melee attacks and bestial slang. The Cinquedea has Quickstep as its skill, which is useful for dodging tricky attacks because Quickstep dodges get more iframes than rolls, though this does come at the cost of having a slightly longer recovery time. If you get used to swapping between one- and two-handing the Cinquedea, then you can get better damage by taking advantage of the 50% strength bonus you get by two-handing it. So you two-hand the dagger when doing melee attacks, and one-hand it as needed, so you have access to the Clawmark Seal to use your spells. Unfortunately, two-handing the Clawmark Seal does not boost the damage of your spells, so don't bother doing that. But anyway, this makes it a really fun hit-and-run kind of playstyle, which I think is great, and I hope you enjoy it too. My name is Diabetor, and I will catch you later.